Up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane!
It's Superman!
Welcome everyone to Caleb Watches Movies, the channel where I, Caleb, randomly select from one of the many movies that I own and I watch and review them for you, unlike days like today where I take a certain topic, or I take a certain character, or I take a certain movie franchise, and I rank the crap out of it. And today is a very special day. This is a ranking list that I have been waiting to make for many years now, all in honor of the recent release of the newest Superman movie last weekend. I am going to be ranking every single cinematic movie film that featured the character of Superman. At least Superman in a predominant role. I'm not going to be including Black Adam on this list, because that was bullshit. But I'm going all the way back to the 40s with this list. That's right, every single iteration of Superman, a Superman movie that made its way to the big screen, will be on this list. That being said, I'm not including any of the small screen versions of Superman, so series like Lois and Clark, Smallville, Superman and Lois, I'm not going to be including those here because, like I said, those are TV shows, those are an episodic structure. I'm just looking at the films that this character has appeared in. And he's one of the biggest, most recognizable characters throughout the entire world. You show this emblem, you show this crest to anyone around the world, and I guarantee the majority of people will know that this represents Superman. This represents hope. Or, as I like to think of it from the latest version of Superman, this represents good and doing good and being good, which made me so happy, by the way. If you haven't already, I had a whole Superman week last week where I covered all of the Superman films from Christopher Reeve to Brandon Routh. I also released my review of the newest Superman films, so after you watch this ranking, please go and check those out. I implore you people. And please know that this is my list. This is my opinion on all of these films. This ranking is all of mine. I'm not saying it is the definitive ranking of all of these movies, even though it is right. But I grew up with this character. I remember watching Christopher Reeve, especially in Superman 2, on repeat, and I would watch it over and over and over again, and I loved this character, how strong he was. I love that he could fly. That's like one of my ultimate dreams. If I ever found a genie in a lamp and I was granted 3 wishes, that would be the first thing I would wish for. Actually, I'd probably wish for just the powers of Superman, just so I could get all of it, not just flight, but I could fly up, into the Earth's atmosphere and not freeze my ass off. But this character means so much to me. He's part of one of the mantras that I live my life in. It's an extension of Batman and Superman. Over here I have Batman, Why Do We Fall? And over here I have the Superman emblem. Underneath it, it says, so we can learn to fly. This character, along with Batman, means so much to me and define how I view the world so much. So it was amazing going back and watching all of these films once again. Some of them I've never seen before, especially the movie serials that we'll be getting into. But I say I'm going to stop prefacing. I'm going to get into my list, my ranking of all the Superman films that have hit the big screen. Here we go. At the bottom of my list, number 15, is one of the Christopher Reeve Superman films, but it's probably not the one you think I'm going to put down here. No, I recently watched Superman 3, or I should say Richard Pryor and Superman, and this time around, it left an ugly feeling in my jellies, It felt like no one wanted to be here. No one wanted to make this movie. In the Christopher Reeve documentary, they talked about how Christopher just wasn't into this film at all. And you can tell that the writers weren't into this movie because the writing, the plot, the stories, the obstacles that the characters had to overcome, is all over the damn place. Richard Pryor's character is charged with recreating kryptonite and give it to Superman so it kills and hurts him. So he's using the computer, this is the 1980s by the way, he's using the computer from then to figure out all the elements, but there's an unknown element that he has absolutely no idea what it is, so he uses tar, I believe, and because of that, it throws everything off, and this version of kryptonite splits Superman in two, so we have the evil Superman, and then we have the good Clark Kent version of Superman, which does lead to an awesome fight with them in the junkyard. It's definitely the best thing about this movie, but it was such a thing for this guy to create kryptonite, and he couldn't do it. But then in the climax, when we go to the desert area and the computer woman thing that really freaked me out as a kid, the white rich businessman said, "Haha, we were able to do it, so we don't need you." Haha! What? Superman 3 is bad. Everyone who made it didn't like it and was having a bad time, and it shows on screen. I just want to move on. At number 14 is a movie serial called Atom Man vs. Superman, which Atom Man turns out to be Lex Luthor. Sorry, that's a spoiler. It's from the 1940s. Go easy on me, people. But like Superman 3, it looks like no one is having fun, and these characters are written to where they're just at each other's throats and at each other's neck. There is a previous movie serial that we'll be talking about here in a little bit. That one seemed to have way more fun than this one. In this version, especially with Lois Lane, she is I'll just say it, she is a cunt in this movie serial. She is constantly teasing Clark Kent for fainting or knocking himself out in a broom closet so that he's able to, fly off and turn into Superman and come in and save the day. And then when he comes back out, she's always just jumping at the chance to call him a coward. Oh yeah, what, you took a nap? Oh, you yellow bastard. It didn't say bastard, of course. It's a movie serial from the 1940s, but you know where I'm going with this. And she's constantly stealing stories from Clark Kent, who is charged by the chief to go off and get, but she's like, no, I want it, so I'm gonna go get it. And Clark Kent's a coward. This serial is not fun. It's not good. It's bad. No. At number 13 is the Christopher Reeve movie that all of you thought was probably going to be at the bottom of the list, is Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I put it up a little bit because, in my opinion, this film is so horrendously bad that it's very entertaining. And you know what? If a movie makes me laugh, I'm having a good time. Regardless if it's a bad movie or a good movie, if I'm laughing, I'm enjoying myself, hey, you know what? It's entertaining. We all know the problems. We all know the issues with this movie. Lex's nephew, Nuclear Man, and the radioactive nail scratching. Or Kidder looks like she's a zombie with the condition that she was in at the time. If you're the daughter of a newspaper editor, apparently you have the ability to be flown to space and then flown back down to Earth without a spacesuit on, and you're able to breathe in space. But this movie does have some redeeming qualities about it. I think the whole idea of Superman stepping in and seeing two rival countries come to the brink of just exploding each other off the map, having him step in and just rid the world, hey, no more nuclear weapons. You all created this, you all had the responsibility to use them correctly, but now you are threatening everyone else with it, so I'm just going to take them away from you. I think that's a great storyline. And actually the scene of Superman at the UN, I think it's one of the best scenes in the entire Christopher Reeve franchise, actually. All of these world leaders raising their hand and willing to support and allow him the chance to speak in front of them on their platform. Yeah, I think that's an inspiring moment. It's just the rest of the film happens after that, so yeah, it's not good. There are blips of little great moments, and then everything happens how it happens. At number 12 is not a movie serial, but is a movie classic starring one of the original Supermen, George Reeves, in the movie Superman and the Mole Men. Clark Kent and Lois Lane are called out to this rural area in the middle of America to investigate some coal mining situations and whatever, and then these small little mole men people start crawling up, and it seems like they're stealing children from all the mine workers, and the mine workers are trying to exterminate and kill all the mole men. Superman has to come in and step in and say, hey, we're not going to kill everyone. We're not going to do genocide here. We're going to talk this out and see what's going on. They want to be left in peace, but you guys with your guns and your dynamite and everything, you're annoying them. You're invading their habitat, so why don't you back off? And then they start taking it out on Superman. It's a 1 hour long film, 1 hour long special that was actually pretty impressive. At the end of watching it, I'm thinking, okay, this was actually very progressive, and it's tackling a lot of very powerful topics and messages in here that we're still dealing with today. And it's always awesome just to see Superman take out a bunch of small-minded racist people, you know, living in the South or in the Midwest anywhere. So yeah, it's a good time. At number 11 is the original Superman serial from 1948. It's actually very fun and, like Superman and the Mole Men, very progressive for the time. The main villain of this story is a woman, the Spider-Woman or whatever. And for the 1940s, for a woman to have a role like that in a pop culture icon like Superman, or just any film, any story in general, that's pretty frickin' progressive. And then we have a lot of fun animation for whenever Superman was taking off and flying. Of course, they didn't have the technology back then to make it look like someone, like an actual person, was flying. So whenever he would take off and fly, it would turn into an animated rendering and he'd be flying all throughout the sky, and it actually looked pretty good. It's definitely the best part of all these movie serials is when the actor, he's in his Superman garb and he's gonna take off, so he runs towards the trampoline, and every time in this serial, the Superman line, he goes, up, and away! And how he just faded out from that, I thought it was great. It's a lot of fun. At number 10 is a feature-length documentary that may be a little controversial of me putting it on here, but you know what? This film was very close to being made, so any story about the making of this film and this take on the character, I think it's super important. Plus, it was directed, written, and constructed by the original Shweddy himself, John Schnepp, who passed away way too young. And I miss that man so much. This was back during the golden age of Collider movie talk and nerd talk or geek talk or whatever it was. This is his film, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. For those of you that don't know, Tim Burton was very close to making a Superman film in the 90s that was starring, of all people, Nicolas frickin' Cage. And the film went through so many different rewrites and so many different iterations. Nicolas Cage was always latched on to this character. I believe he got some type of stipend for just being signed on for so long. Tim Burton, of course, got paid too because he attached his name to it, but the writers kept changing and the script kept changing because Warner Brothers was not having great times in the 90s. Things were flopping. They weren't getting their returns on a lot of the big projects that they put out there, so they kept cutting the budget, or they kept cutting the main baddie of the story. At one point it was supposed to be Brainiac. At one point, Brainiac was supposed to be fighting some polar bears in the Arctic. One version of the story that Kevin Smith wrote, they didn't want Superman to be flying at all because it always looked fake, and they wanted him to fight a gigantic spider, which we never got to see until the Flash film came out in 2023, and we got a little glimpse of it, which actually made me very happy. But after this whole debacle and Warner Brothers finally pulling the plug on this entire project, several years later, the movie Wild Wild West happened. Kevin Smith went to go see that film, and then the climax of that movie is this big, gigantic metal spider. Warner Brothers, I don't know what's your deal? The spider fetish? Whatever. But Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, I think is quite the story about this character in relation to the movie theater. That's why I have it on this list, because I just like it. At number 9 is one of the more recent versions of Superman from 2006, Superman Returns. He returns to punch a continent. Yes, it is made of kryptonite, but it's a continent. It's land. Wow. This movie does have some positives. It has some nice things. I think Brandon Routh is a good Superman. He does his best to portray and to emulate Christopher Reeve in his version. And the whole plane rescue scene, like, that's peak. That is by far the best thing from this film. That, and then hearing the John Williams theme once again. But once that scene happens, we have another 2 hours of this movie that just feels like a trudge. We're just walking. There is no enthusiasm. There is no sense of urgency with what Lex Luthor is doing or just what these characters are doing. It's just boring after that. However, I will say after the most recent time I watched this film for my channel, the review that I put out a couple of weeks ago, I was watching it with my wife, and she did say something quite beautiful and quite accurate as to why this character of Superman and this world of Superman is so important, I think, to myself and to the world, is that we, right now, in the real world, we really are living in a Lex Luthor world without a Superman. We have so many rich white billionaires who are in political offices or just in positions of power where all the decisions that they're making are selfish and they're to benefit themselves and to widen their pocketbooks full of cash. And we don't have someone who can stand up to them. We don't have that one person that can be a beacon of hope and a beacon of light. So for her to say something so profound while watching this movie, I think it's important. I think that's why I bumped it up a little bit on this list. At number 8 it's a Superman movie. It's more about his best friend than it is him, but Superman is a predominant character. This is DC League of Super Pets. Superman's best friend, Krypto, gets the spotlight. I just love Krypto. I love Krypto so much. He's so adorable. But we also have all these other super pets that get the nod and get the spotlight here. And the movie showcases the importance of the relationship between, a human being, a person, and their pet. And it also showcases the importance of adoption. And any film that showcases that, where an animal gets to go home, not live its whole life, in a kennel, in a cage. They get to go home and experience love and happiness with a Superman or just an average Joe. If they get to do that, and they showcase that in a movie, it just brings tears to my eyes and it makes me so happy. And I love this movie a lot. There's a lot of great things about this film. A lot of humorous bits. I love that all of the members of the Justice League gets their own pet by the end of this movie. The League of Super Pets is just a delight. Yes, it's a kid's film, but adults enjoy it too. They could enjoy it. People watched it. I don't think a lot of people did. Oh well. At number 7 is a big film and one of my favorite films of all time. Definitely my favorite film in the entire DC EU for, the last 10 years, all those DC films that came out during that period. This is Justice League. And when I say Justice League, I am referring to Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I don't know. I don't like saying a director's name in the title of a movie. I just feel like that's very pretentious. That's just my opinion. I'm not dissing Zack Snyder for all of you Snyder Cut people out there. So I just like referring to this film as Justice League. And again, this is one of my favorite films of all time. I absolutely love this film. I have watched this film on repeat. It is a 4-hour epic that is just beautiful storytelling from beginning to end. And I think the journey that this film took to actually being produced and published to the world, I think is quite heroic and very epic in itself. But the reason why it's just so low on this list is because Superman doesn't show up until chapter 5 of this 4-hour journey. If he showed up earlier, this film would definitely be higher. This film is not a Superman story, but he is definitely an important part of it. Like, he needs to show up to take out some Steppenwolf and to push back Darkseid at the end. But for those of you wondering, please watch this version, the director cut version, and not the Superman mustache version, the Justice League version, or whatever people are calling it. Just let that one go, watch the 4-hour version. Yes, it's 4 hours, but you know what? It's frickin' worth it. At number 6, another controversial pick that I have on here, but you know what? We would not have Superman. We would not have that movie coming out last week without this person, and last year they released a documentary on Christopher Reeve. This is Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. If I'm doing a ranking of Superman in its relationship with the movie theater, I mean, we have to talk about this documentary and how beautiful and how wonderful it is to tell this actor's story who embodied this character. I mean, you look at Christopher Reeve and you immediately think Superman. I can't think of anything else that person could play. Yes, he has done other things, like Noises Off. I love that movie. He's a funny actor. He's from Juilliard, for God's sakes. He was roommates with Robin Williams. But then this man is just dealt this shit hand, and he could either choose to let himself go, plead his wife and his family, just let me go, because this is just going to be a long road of suffering and inconvenience for all of you. Or he has the choice to fight and to use what happened to him to inspire other acts of kindness and advance technology, advance science, and advance medicine to help those that have the same condition that he had to be able to walk again. And people are walking today because of the research that his foundation did. It's a powerful documentary. The score is great. The visualization of that CGI statue of Christopher Reeve in his Superman garb and how the kryptonite crystals are popping through. I'm sure it was added late in the whole documentary thing, but it's just a great story, and it's a true story, and I love seeing it. Christopher Reeve is Superman. He is the reason why this list exists. So yeah, this film absolutely deserves to be here. But if we're talking about a film that absolutely deserves to be here, it's the reason why superhero films exist. Every superhero film that came after this film emulates it and follows the same 3-act structure that this film had. This is, of course, Superman the movie. The tagline of this movie was "You'll believe a man could fly," and the wire work, the costuming, the casting of this man, of Christopher Reeve as Superman, you absolutely do. When you watch it for the first time as a kid, hell, even as an older adult, if you're watching it for the first time, you watch it and you go, yeah, Superman does exist, because that's Superman right there on this screen. There he is. And the first 2 acts of this film, I think, are excellent storytelling and an excellent version of this character. Seeing this upbringing with him and his adopted parents, instilling all these good lessons into him as a younger child, but him realizing that even though he is so powerful, he can run fast, he's strong as hell, he's impenetrable, he's still not immune to pain. With the death of his father, he says it, I have all these powers and yet I still couldn't save him. Wonderful lessons for this godlike figure to learn at such a young age. And then the whole second act with him introducing himself to the world as Superman and introducing himself to the Daily Planet as Clark Kent. It's one of the best performances of all time. The movie just falls apart in the third act, which is a shame because I like Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, but then we have the whole I'm gonna fly back around the world to spin it backwards, and that's going to reverse time, and then I'm going to spin it forward to set the timeline straight again, and that's how I'm going to save everyone. Like, that's even as a kid, I knew that science doesn't make sense. But this is a film that just fills you up with endless joy and endless just hope of goodness, and it's one of the most important films. Definitely belongs on this list. It's one of the best movies ever made. At number 4 is a movie that I latched onto about 10 years ago. Not everyone did, but it's a movie that I thought was written wonderfully, and it's a misunderstood masterpiece that is ahead of its time. This is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. I think I lost a whole bunch of you out there that I'm putting this film above Superman the movie, but you know what? I don't care, because I love watching this film from time to time. The ultimate version with the extra 33 minutes, not the theatrical version, of course. The theatrical version is all chopped up, and there's just a lot of studio interference that happened in this film, and I think that's why it got such a low Rotten Tomatoes score and was unfavorable with general audiences, because you go to see this movie and they chop it up to make this out to be more of a Batman movie, but then you watch the Ultimate Edition that came out on Blu-ray and 4K, and all of a sudden, oh, Superman has equal time, if not more time, than Batman in this film, and it becomes more of a Superman story, becomes more of a sequel to Man of Steel, and we figure out the struggle that Clark is having during this time. Why Warner Brothers would make the decision to chop this thing up so much, I don't understand, but you know what? They made so many so many bad decisions with the whole DCEU from 2013 to 2023. You know, it's just, we just forget about it. You know, it had its place, now it's over, but I think Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice is excellent. And the whole fight between Batman and Superman, how it ends with the whole Martha thing, I know that's controversial too. I found it to be very beautiful, because here is a moment that this man that has been filled up and consumed by so much rage, he finally comes to realization that this alien, this super powered being, has a mother. He's not all alien. He is human. He has parents. He has a heart. He has people that love him like I did. I had a mother. I had a father. I'm more alike to this person who I'm considering my enemy than I thought I did. And I think that's just a beautiful thing. And I think not everyone was ready for that, of how simple of an idea that is, but you know what? I loved it, and I love this movie. Originally, I had BVS above this film, but the more I'm thinking about this list, I have to put Superman 2 above Batman v Superman because of the nostalgia that I have with Superman 2. We own the VHS of this thing. And like I said at the beginning of this ranking video, I would watch Superman 2 on repeat. I absolutely love this film. Terrence Stamp as General Zod and all of his cronies. They're evil, they're awful Kryptonians, but they're so funny. They have great lines in here. So this is Planet Houston. Why do you say this when you know I will kill you for it? Kneel before Zod. All of that stuff is great. But then the whole love story between Superman and Lois Lane, her finally figuring out that Superman is Clark Kent, and the choice that he makes to give up all of his powers and to give up everything for this woman, I think is great, and it's wonderful. And I'm talking about the Richard Lester version. I watched the Donner cut, and I just thought that was blasphemy. That offended me. The take that Donner was making with Lois figuring out Superman is Clark Kent by shooting him. Like, what are you talking about? The only thing I like more from the Donner version than the Lester version is the use of Jor-El, of Marlon Brando in that film. Him giving up himself and his consciousness to give back the powers to Superman. Like, okay, that makes more sense than how he got his powers back in the Lester version. So that aside, the Lester version is the superior version. Endlessly requotable. I could quote that thing for days, and going back, watching it for last week's review, it's just so much fun. It holds up for me. I love it so much. So what movie am I putting at number 1, and what movie am I putting at number 2? Maybe it's recency bias, I don't know, but I think over the weekend I made the choice to put Man of Steel at number 2. It's a movie that I think is an absolute masterpiece. I love this take on Superman. First off, I love the origin. I love the explosion of Krypton and how Jor-El sacrificed himself to send Clark out over to Earth, and then to have him just be this wandering soul. And when you're wandering like that, a lot of times you are lonely. In the Superman mythos and the comics, he always manages to find positivity and goodness in everyone. But here in this version, it's more of a realistic take where, you know, if you're lonely, that could be very depressing, and you become very solemn if you are wandering the earth alone for so many years. And I think it's an accurate depiction of how the world would react if a superhuman alien being made himself known to the world. I think a lot of people would be afraid, like, oh, someone who can shoot lasers from his eyes and who is impenetrable and is super strong and can fly around, really do whatever he wants. Yeah, that's pretty scary, and it's probably divisive for a lot of people. So for me, I thought this was a masterpiece, and I love that it was bold enough to take those hard paths when it comes to this character and ask those hard questions, those divisive questions. But you can definitely tell that Warner Brothers never really wanted to make this movie, and they definitely never really wanted Zack Snyder to be the forerunner of this new DC universe that they were trying to make back then. They were really wanting Christopher Nolan to take on Superman, but Nolan had just come off of the Dark Knight trilogy, and he wanted to go do his own thing, but he was saying, no, this Zack Snyder guy, he's pretty damn good, and his take is very interesting. You should give him a shout. And they were like, but, no, can't you just... Okay, fine. So they put all their chips on it, but they were definitely reluctant, and we can definitely see in the history of how that all played out. But Man of Steel, I think, is a beautiful film. It's a beautiful take. The flying scenes in it are incredible. The cape choreography, I'm a freaking sucker for that. And that amazing Hans Zimmer score. Like, this film is excellent. And before last week, this would have easily been #1. Like, we have Superman 2 is here, Man of Steel is up here. However, when it comes to Man of Steel and the new Superman film that came out, I have to put the new Superman movie above Man of Steel, just with the goodness that I felt walking out of the theater. Superman from James Gunn, the new film introducing this new DCU to the world, it's my favorite Superman film, and how I felt seeing this character on screen interact with everyone, and the monologues that he has, the cinematography of a lot of these shots and monologues that he's delivering, and the sun setting in the background behind him, absolutely gorgeous. And it's a movie that made me believe in goodness again, because for the last 10 years I had been at a deep pit of depression. It's one of the reasons why I started this YouTube channel, by the way, because I was wanting to believe in goodness again, but I'd become cynical, and every interaction that I had with someone new or a stranger on the street, I would always just have the mindset that, oh, he's an asshole, or she's a jerk, or they're just evil people. Look at the world politics that we have going on, whether it's in this country or in that country. We have people hating each other, and people in power who should not be in power, by the way. I wanted to believe in something good again. And watching this movie, watching this version of this character of Superman, David Corenswet, they just made me believe in good. It made me believe that there can be good people out there doing what is right, because it's the right thing to do, not because a country told them to do it, not because a loved one told them to do it. They're helping people because that's the right thing to do. That's what we should all do. And that is what this character of Superman should represent. Yes, this symbol does represent hope in the lineage of Superman and the comics and the canon, the Superman lore. But after that film, I believe that this symbol means more of goodness than it does hope, because hope is very futuristic. But believing in good and serving humanity and doing good things, that is a very present thing to do, and that's a very present mindset to have. So in my opinion, this symbol now, it just means good and doing good because it's the right thing to do. That is my list of all of the Superman films that have come out ever since the 1940s with movie serials. What did you think about my list? What is your ranking of all the Superman films that have been released? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.